selling the fire and he's walking in the flame. And he'll be there to help you when you call upon his name.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to have a great time as we look back and celebrate 35 years of musical ministry that God has allowed Paula and I to enjoy. Now, the truth is, we've only been married 32 years, so that means I got started a little bit before Paula came into my life and changed my song forever. But Paula, it's been an incredible journey. And when I think back on our musical side of our ministry, it actually goes further back than 35 years. When my mom and dad walked into our house one day, and they had been to a Sunday school convention somewhere out west and brought back with them 3 albums that changed my young life and set a course for me for the future. And I remember those albums to this day. I still have them, actually. An album by the Spear Family called Songs You've Requested, black and white cover, Mom and Dad Spear singing on it. An album by J.D. Sumner and the Colorful Stamps Quartet, yeah. And they were all dressed in different color blazers. And Jim Hill was singing on that. And then the album that also affected me was I'm Too Near Home by the Happy Goodman Family, the first album I think they ever made. And I remember as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old child taking those albums out of those jackets, those sleeves, and placing them so carefully on the turntable of that huge cabinet stereo that Mom, and you remember those things that Mom and Dad had back then? And for hours, I would just be mesmerized and lost in that happy sound, that music. And for the rest of my young life, I would dream and even sing along with those records and dream of the day when I could sing that music, when I could meet those people. And little did I know back then that as the years would go by, God brought all that full circle. And tonight there are people on the program that have a direct link and connection to those families that touched my life. Some of them mentored me only by distance. I never met many of them. Some of them I did and had dear friendships with. Some of them have mentored me up close. They've taught me what songwriting should be and what it doesn't need to be. They've taught me about the power of lyrics. They've taught me the craft, and I hope I've honored that through the years. But tonight, it's just a way for me to say thank you. And Paula, when I think about the power of a song, the gospel can be contained in a song in just a few minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes maybe. And when those songs are being sang on stages across America or in choirs here and there, it was God's way of allowing me to have an extension of ministry through the voices of the people and the talents and the gifts of the people who would sing those songs. And to have some of them here tonight just means the world to me. And I want to say this too. Tonight is not just about getting lost in yesterday. I appreciate so much the heritage. And speaking of that, I remember people in the Church of God music ministry, people like Delton Alford and Charles Toller, and on I could go, that encouraged me as a young songwriter. I remember when I was 15 years old, I sent my first song to be looked at for the convention book. Remember that, the convention book? And very quickly got my first ever rejection letter. I won't tell you who wrote that to me. He's not alive now, but he was a dear man. But I kept on, and even in that letter, I was encouraged to keep on. And I remember when I think it was Charles Toller called and said, "Hey, we want to use this song in this year's convention book." I thought I had died and gone to heaven. It was such a thrill. But again, I don't want to get lost in yesterday, even though that's so important to me, where we've been, where we've come from. Tonight, I also want to look forward to the future, because on this same program tonight, we've got young people from campus choir at Lee University. the Voices of Lee. And what they represent is where music is going in the future. It's such a brilliant future. It's such an exciting place that God is taking music ministry in the Church of God and in Pentecost and Christendom. And I want to be a part of that. And I pray that I've been a small part of the past, but I'm so looking forward to what God wants to say through our children and our young people, our grandchildren in the future. And as I come to a close of this little greeting, I just appreciate what you have meant to us. You've bought our music, you've sang our music, you've encouraged me to keep writing and singing, and it's just been a great journey. I remember when I was 7 years old, and there's actually a picture of this somewhere, Paul, I'll have to find it, but when I was 7 years old, someone put a microphone in front of my face, bigger than my hand, and said, "Sing, boy." And it was in front of about 800 or 900 people at a Texas camp meeting. And I remember singing that day. Only 7 years old, only 7 years old. But I remember singing these words. I started out traveling for the Lord many years ago. Well, at 7 years old, I hadn't traveled anywhere. But I kept on singing. I've had a lot of heartache, met a lot of grief and woe. Well, the truth is, the only woe I'd ever known is what Mama put on my backside at that point. But I kept singing, I wouldn't take nothing for my journey now. Well, at 7 years old, I hadn't been down the street too many times, but in the last 45, I've been around the world a time or two, and my life has been impacted and touched by folks just like you. So let's have a good time tonight. Let's enjoy the singing, and let's clap our hands, tap our feet, and let's celebrate the past and look forward to the future of what God has for us all. God bless you for being here.